All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Campfire Show number 20 with Carla Montano. Carla, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for being here with us. We are streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. If you're on any of those three platforms, you can ask your questions in the chat. We're going to see it here. And I see Code Thin. Hello, Code. Thanks for joining. Um, as always, you can ask your questions, we'll answer them. You can also join us, Carla and myself. If you have a mic, if you have your camera on, you can join us. We'll bring you onto the stage and we can have a conversation. But Carla, let's get started. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're dialing in from? And I'm sure a lot of people are eager to hear your story. We just published actually your story in an email this week. Something actually quite incredible, I must say. But before we get into it, please introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm currently in Mississippi. I'm from Venezuela.
Right.
I have been in the US for about 8 years. And my short story is I come from a teaching background and sports. And now I'm a software engineer.
That's awesome. So yeah, I saw that. So you moved to the US 8 years ago. For me, it was 20 years ago, I must say. What brought you over to the US?
The situation in Venezuela.
Yeah.
We are facing a lot of issues in there, and we couldn't be there anymore.
That's right. Okay. And so did you move with your whole family? I mean, do you have still parents over there? Um,
Well, at that time, my parents were here.
okay.
I have a couple of siblings here,
Yeah.
so one of them, helped us to come here and get situated and all of that. Currently, my parents are in there.
Okay. So we're
We-
traveling back and forth. Yeah.
yes.
Isn't Venezuela the country that switched over to Bitcoin recently?
Something like
I
that,
know
but
something about
I
that,
don't
right?
know how
Yeah,
much
but I remember
success.
reading a lot about unrest, and yeah, I imagine it must be difficult to leave your country. So you were a teacher in Venezuela, and you specialized in
Yes.
sports, right? Can you
Yes,
tell us a
PE
little bit about
teacher.
that? See,
Yes. So I played table tennis my whole
yeah.
life. It was a sport, a family sport. I play for my country. That was practically my life.
Oh yeah.
um, I used to coach table tennis and PE classes at school.
Hmm. So table
So
tennis. I mean, I know about it because it's very popular in France as well. We call it ping pong.
yes,
Yes, that's the name we give it in France.
no table tennis.
Yeah, that's right. But I mean, it's not super popular in the US, isn't it?
Uh, some states,
Yeah, some states.
um, Florida, they play a lot of table
Yeah.
tennis. I know in Washington D.C. area,
Oh
some
yeah.
there are some teams, really good teams. I mean, the U.S. Open for table tennis is pretty good,
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool.
but
So when you
it's
arrived in, yeah, sorry, go for it.
in Mississippi is not
Yeah.
a thing.
So when you arrived in the US, were you able to get a job as a PE teacher as well?
Well, it took a while. It took a
Yeah.
while, so I had to do any type of jobs that I could get uh, at the moment. Then eventually, like 2 years or a year and a half after I came, I decided to do a certification, so I was able to teach here.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah. So you have to have a certain type of certificate. What you got in Venezuela was not enough, I guess. Okay.
Yes.
And so when I read the article that we published, and by the way, let me actually paste it for anyone wanting to read about Carla as well as listen to you right now. Very interesting story, and you actually made the decision to quit teaching, I think, during the pandemic. And what
Yes.
you shared with us, it was something about how students actually were affected and how that affected you in return. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Like, what did you experience during the pandemic as a teacher? And we all have, stories of, how learning
Mhm.
was way more difficult. But yeah, share with us a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
so a little bit before the pandemic, I had a meeting with the principal of my school, and we were
Hmm.
talking. I mentioned, I'm learning some web development and something, because I think that in the future, even teaching will be in the computer.
Yeah.
COVID wasn't a thing.
Oh, it wasn't the COVID before at that
No,
moment.
it was like a month before COVID. It was,
Yeah.
yes, like a month before COVID. And I said that. I don't know why. I said, teaching will be on the computer one day and I need to, improve my skills. And, I wasn't going to say I'm going to, change career. But
Yeah.
so then COVID came and we were like, okay, school, the kids, all virtual. And it was first, it was, let's say, frustrating talking to a screen the whole day
Yeah.
and not receiving, that the
Having an
connections
interaction with
or
others. Yeah.
yes, interacting with them because not all the kids were used to be on the computer.
Hmm.
At, to start, they didn't know how to use the computer because I was teaching in a low income place in Memphis. So yes, they have computers, but it's different.
Gotcha.
And
Hey, we
so
have a question.
yeah,
Sorry, we have a
yes.
question from Candice. Candice is asking, are we talking about the bootcamp in this forum? Yes, absolutely. You're very welcome to ask any question about New Camp, about our bootcamps. We'll pause and answer your questions. You can also ask questions to Carla about your experience, but absolutely you can ask as many questions as you want regarding New Camp and the bootcamps. And then I just want to highlight that comment that Clara just made. I
Hey,
need to be
Clara.
careful between Clara and Carla. I'm going to be confused very quickly, but yeah, I think you two know each other. So there you go. So you decided before the pandemic started that you were going to learn to code, but you didn't go straight to a coding bootcamp, right? I mean, can you
No.
tell us how did you get started? What did you learn first? What did you use? What tools did you use to learn first?
Okay, so my brother, he's a software engineer. So he said, "Hey, why don't you take a look at this tutorial and see how it goes?" So he shared a general assembly, a mini tutorial.
Yeah.
Um, so I started like in 2 days. I was over with that, and I was like, "Okay, what do I do now? Tell
What was
me."
the tutorial about? Do you remember what did it teach you? What did the
It
tutorial
was
teach you?
HTML, CSS,
Yeah,
and a little bit of JavaScript.
gotcha. So you did that in 2 days, and then you were like, okay, what's next? What's next? So what did you do next? What did you do after the tutorial?
So next, I was looking for more resources, and I found FreeCodeCamp.
Yeah.
So I got started with FreeCodeCamp. Um, I finished the first part for responsive design, and then it was like, okay, now I need more.
So
What
let's
do I
talk
do
about that
now?
moment. You were learning Free Code Camp. How long do you? I mean, if you remember, how long did you stay? How long did you learn off on Free Code Camp? Was that like a week, a month? What was your life then? Like, were you still working? Were you doing that in the
I was
weekends,
still
or
working.
you were
Yes.
still working? So for how long
Mhm.
do you think you stayed with Free Code Camp?
Oh, I don't know. It was pretty quick. I will say a month max.
Oh, okay. Okay. So for a
Yes,
month, you stay with Free Code Camp. You learn
mhm,
responsive design. Gotcha.
yes,
Evenings and weekends when you had a chance.
yes,
Gotcha.
absolutely. That was very limited time while
Yeah.
teaching.
And so you felt kind of okay. You felt like you've seen what you had to see in Free Code Camp, and then you didn't stop there. I think what else did you do after that?
So after that, I was a little bit. I felt stuck because
Yeah.
okay, I know how to do this, HTML, CSS, some JavaScript, and but only in CodePen. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
so how do I translate this to the real world?
Hmm.
And so I couldn't find the answers at that time. This was 2 years ago or so. So I found, WordPress. I said, okay, maybe I can, do this, maybe have a side income with WordPress. So I started learning. I found a tutorial, yes, a tutorial with a college here in Mississippi or in
Oh,
Memphis.
okay. So
And
did you attend the college in person at the time, or was it in the middle of the
no,
pandemic then?
it was in the pandemic. Yes,
Yeah,
it
that's
was in
right.
the
Okay.
pandemic. So I did that. It was what I learned in, well, I did two. Yes, I did two. The WordPress one,
Okay.
and then I did the HTML and CSS. So it was more of what I learned in
Gotcha.
FreeCodeCamp. But
And
I
we have a few.
learned some
Yeah,
WordPress. Yes, let's see the
we have a
questions.
few questions already. Where did I see? Oh yeah. So there's a question from Lonela or Yonela. How did you build your confidence while applying for jobs, knowing that the only experience that you had in IT was the boot camp?
Well, something that helped was being in the community of NUCAM
Hmm.
because and going through the bootcamp. One thing that I did since the beginning, since Bootstrap, was helping others. So the first time somebody asked a question, I was like, "Oh, I know this answer, so I'm going to answer." And then another question, and I was like, I don't know, maybe everybody was tired, sick of me answering all the questions. But I was, trying to help me build, my confidence. I really know something, a little bit more than
Oh,
someone
that's
else,
good.
so I have something to offer.
That's a really good point because I mean a lot of people, they really wonder, and most of the time there's going to be the imposter syndrome and people not feeling ready. And the question about how do you build your confidence is really important. And I've always thought that helping others or teaching others was a good way to learn on you as well. Because when you teach someone something, you're formulating the problem and the solution a different way, and sometimes you're teaching someone else, but you're actually learning something new about what you're teaching as well, because you have to think about it differently. But you're right, not only you learn by helping others or teaching others, it also builds your confidence, because you're right,
Hmm.
you're in those situations where all of a sudden you know more than someone else, and you realize how much more you know. So that's actually it's a great point. I mean, that's a big encouragement for anyone. Just try to help someone else, and actually it's going to
Yes,
help you as well. That's a great point.
absolutely.
um I think there was a oh, and thank you, Avery, for making that statement. Really appreciate. We work hard for that. um oh wow, there's a lot of compliments. Thank you. Um, all right. Actually, there's a lot of compliments right now. It's kind of interesting and surprising. I really appreciate. Let's get back to you. Um, okay, I thought I saw another question. No, there you go. No, I think that was it for now. So let's go back to your journey, because you so you started as a self-taught.
Hmm.
You took a free course at General Assembly, then you did Free Code Camp, then you went to online course at the local college, then you learned WordPress. I mean, you are very active in trying to really learn those techniques. And tell me if I'm wrong, but I think at some point you were like, okay, I'm gonna just start my own business on the side, right? You became freelance, and that was
Yes,
before you joined New Camp, wasn't it?
yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about that? I mean, a lot of people are wondering, okay, what does it take to be freelance? Should I try it? Is it good money? How do I find client? Can you tell us your experience as a freelance developer and even before actually starting the bootcamp?
Mhm. So I didn't. I started my side business with, website design.
Yeah.
I got some clients. I started working with them. I'm still working with one organization.
Wow.
Um, but now it's not WordPress. Now we are doing a whole thing with the full stack
Yeah.
um, approach. Um, so I didn't continue like actively as a freelance because I realized that it wasn't sustainable for me as a teacher
Mhm.
and have my side, business. It
Yeah.
was
Too many
really.
hours.
Yes, because I mean, for those that are teachers, we only know
Yeah.
how much it is. It is the 10 hours at school plus the four more at home doing the rest of the stuff for school.
Yeah.
So, um, yes, I said I will continue, working with the organization that I was working in, just wait, prepare, switch career, and then continue.
Gotcha. But you were saying that, so this is incredible. I mean, a lot of people are going to be really impressed and intimidated by that a little. You were self-taught for about what, a year, I'll say, when you started
Mhm.
to do that,
Yes.
about a year. Um, you decide to go freelancing and you find clients. Can you share with us, like, how difficult was it for you to find those clients? Maybe you have some
Mm,
tips and tricks, like how like anything that someone else could actually replicate. And
social media.
social media, really?
enjoy, engaging groups.
Yeah.
Um, I'm in, oh my gosh, in a lot of groups. And every day people is, I need somebody for my website. I need to build a store, an e-commerce store. I need to. So you need to be really, really engaged in
Mm,
social media.
yeah. Gotcha. And
In French, because most of the
yeah.
times, I'm sorry, because
No, go
most
for it.
of the
Sorry.
time, uh, your friend is starting a business and he needs
Mhm.
a website or the local store or things like that.
So yeah, you are very involved in social media, and I mean, I know you even before we wrote a story about you, because I was one of those people who noticed how engaged you were in social media. I noticed how much I was saying Kala, Kala, Kala in Slack, and I've been telling people it's a great way to get noticed. It's a great way for you to really show up and have um, your next employer or hiring manager notice you out of the crowd, just communicating, engaging, not just, and I think you did that very well, not just posting content but also responding to other people, right? Responding to
Hmm.
existing posts. um, so that's a great recommendation here. So let's talk about now. So you're doing that. You're self-taught. uh you have your freelance business, but you're wondering, okay, what am I doing with it? It's too much work. So you're now thinking that you need something else, and so you're now actually looking for a coding bootcamp. Can you tell us a little bit about that process of looking for the right coding bootcamp? You had previous experience with General Assembly, you said. So tell us, how did you look for one, and how did you land on NewCamp? Why chose NewCamp at that time? That'd be great.
Yeah. So again, I felt like I needed something else. I started the free code camp JavaScript, the full JavaScript thing, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to go back to do some more HTML, CSS, and then come back to JavaScript.
Yeah.
It was really fun. But I started listening some podcasts, and
Oh.
some of them, mentioned boot camps. I come from a boot camp, and I was like, boot camp, what is that? Okay, let me start looking for one. And of course, the first one that came into my mind was the General Assembly.
Yeah.
So I was checking into it. It was expensive and time consuming. It was full
Mhm.
time or something like that. So I couldn't leave my job to study. So I said, no, I can't do this. Let's continue. Again, pre-code camp, JavaScript. Oh, no, let's go
Oh,
back
so
to HTML,
you went
CSS.
back to Freecode Camp at that moment.
Yes.
Okay.
So I continue, listening to podcasts, and
Yeah.
I was in a Facebook group.
Yeah.
Uh, it was, I don't remember the name. I was in a Facebook group. Somebody from New Camp mentioned, oh, I did this boot camp, and I was like, okay, I will check into that. I
Oh, that's
went and
good. So it
checked.
was word of mouth. It was kind of from your network. Someone.
Something
Cool.
like
That's
that.
pretty cool.
So I was actually like in four Facebook groups for
Yeah.
Moms Who Code and a lot of groups. So I started asking in all those groups, have you heard about
Mhm.
NodeCamp? Have you heard about this bootcamp? And did you like it? And things like that. So Raul Barriga,
Yes.
uh, he was the one that posted that in that particular group. And I asked
Uh-huh.
him, how did you like it? Did you learn? How is everything? And he he told me, it's a boot camp, blah blah blah. It's on your own pace. It's really cheap. And I was like, okay,
Or we don't say
uh,
cheap, we say affordable.
okay, affordable. And so I started, looking into that. I applied for I don't know what is the name for the
The full
assistant.
stack.
No, the assistance, the financial
Oh, that's right.
assistance
Yeah,
program.
I saw that
Mhm.
you had a scholarship with us, the New You scholarship.
Yes, yes. But prior to that, I applied to the assistance, but by me not being, a citizen
Yes.
here,
Mhm.
I didn't apply for it. So I got the scholarship.
Yeah, that's gotcha.
And
Yeah, I think what you're referring to is the student loan with Climb Credit.
yes.
That was that. Yeah. So that you can
Yeah.
actually have a lower monthly pay for a longer period of
Mm-hmm.
time. So okay, so
Yeah.
that's how you found us, and that's how you applied. So let's pause here. We'll get back to your journey in the bootcamp. Let's take a few questions. We have um, Code is asking, do you think design is teachable, or do you need an eye for it? And by design, I'm sure Code Thin is talking about UI design and building websites, the look and feel of a website. So do you think it's teachable, or do you need an eye for it? What do you think?
I think it's teachable.
Hmm.
I mean, maybe in your experience, in your previous experiences, you didn't have anything to do with design, but once you start looking into it, and because it's mostly, kind of lands or what is the trends right now, what looks good, where to put the navbar, where,
Yeah.
it's different things that you can learn and, getting inspired from the things that you see online.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And there's a lot of conventions in UI design, in how, thinking about the different font sizes, thinking about alignment, thinking about how things should work on a page that you can definitely teach. I think beyond that, there's absolutely an artistic aspect to it, right? You can make something perfect visually, but artistically may not be super engaging or appealing. That's the thing that you need to have that vibe, but there's a lot of design elements that are just convention based, and you have to think about, okay, what should it look like based on those conventions, I would say. um, There's a ton of questions about me and Newcam today. That's funny. Thank you again. And there's another question from Code Thin. I mean, that's very relevant to your own experience. You started to learn WordPress, and that was part of your freelance experience. How important do you think really learning WordPress for that freelance experience?
So before I didn't know, I wasn't sure it was going to be relevant, but it actually is relevant for
Yeah.
me at least because there is so much you can do with WordPress. You can help people and you can build a portfolio only with WordPress
Yeah.
to start. So by doing that, you can show that you can get a project, start, work on it, finish, interact with a client. So
Hmm.
there is so many things that you can do. So the first thing that I did with WordPress was being a volunteer in Git Camp Memphis. I was looking for the
Yeah.
word Git Camp Memphis. So that was the point for me where where I said I need to do this. I knew it before,
Mhm.
but I was yes, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. But once I joined that, that is a weekend of volunteer experience. That weekend was like, this is it. This was before joining No Camp.
I see. So that was the moment for you where you realized you really wanted to make that a career. So
Hmm.
you must have experienced a lot of positive emotions, right? Working on WordPress, coding, right? I mean, was it kind
Yes.
of did you experience like enjoyment? What describe that feeling? Like when what is the moment? What is that feeling? What are you looking for to know that it's something that you're really going to enjoy, that you're really going to like? Can you
The
describe it? Maybe
challenges,
difficult to describe, but
I will say the challenge
the
that
challenge. Yeah.
learning something and solving a little thing, when you start HTML and CSS, that is a big challenge.
Yeah.
And then just going through that and, wanted to learn more. One of the reasons I became a teacher was because I like to do things, to
Mhm.
do this, do that, help here, and don't, not being stuck in something. So I found in coding what I liked about teaching,
Yeah.
but in a different way,
I
something that
see.
helped me
Mm.
grow.
Yeah, yeah. There's a I think there's a creator mindset as well. Like you're describing where you want to accomplish something, it's going to be challenging, you don't necessarily know how to do it, and then you do it.
Mhm.
Right? It's like, I'm going to build a box, I don't know how to build the box, but I'm going to build the box, and you're struggling to do it, and then finally you've built the box. And there's a
Mhm.
huge amount of positive emotion because hey, you were able to do it. And
Yes.
that kind of a reason repeat, it happens all the time. That's great. So all right, so I think let's see if we have more questions. And I mean, you're absolutely right. I think there are, I mean, someone can maybe Google that, but how many websites out there are running on WordPress? I think it's the majority. I think it's more than 50%. It's like a crazy number that are still running on
Mhm.
WordPress. um all right, one more question, and then we'll get back to you and your experience at New Camp. Another one from Code. Since you were talking about podcast, which one do you recommend?
My favorites. So if you want to look for some freelancing, I would recommend the Self-Made Web Designer. Self-Made, yes, I have it right here. Yes, the Self-Made Web Designer.
Self-made web
That
designer. Okay.
yes, that is one of my favorites.
And
The other
is that an
one,
audio podcast or is that on YouTube?
yes, audio podcast.
Audio. Okay, gotcha.
Hmm.
All right.
And yes.
Self-made web designer. All right. So let's go back to your journey. Um, so you found New Camp, word of mouth from a group. You decide to enroll. You get a scholarship. And I'm looking at your profile now. I think you started April
April.
2021 and you
Hmm.
graduated September 2021. Um, you were still a teacher during the whole boot camp, right? So you didn't quit. So how was it? I see you shaking your head. All right, so tell us, how was it? You had a full-time job, 10 hours a week, you said before, and yet you also enroll into a part-time coding boot camp. What was life, between April
It,
2021 and September, over the summer as well, which is, yeah. And well, I guess it helped for you, no? Wasn't it? I mean, it must have helped because you were not teaching during the
yes.
summer, or were you? Okay.
No, last summer. No.
Yeah. All right. So how was it?
So it was crazy, but it was exciting. Um, of course, I had the help from my husband.
Yeah.
So this was a decision, made between both of us.
Mm,
I'm going to do this sacrifice, but I need your help with all the stuff. He helped me a lot with
yeah.
cooking with the kids, and hey, I have workshop. You have to do whatever you have to
Yeah.
do
Saturday
with
morning, I'm
them.
not. Yeah. Going to
Yes,
soccer practice or table tennis practice and all that. Yeah. Yeah.
yes. So with his help, so my days were early days and late nights. So
Oh, so
it
you will
was
you will learn to code before going to work in the morning?
and after. Yes.
Wow. What time will you wake up then?
Sometimes five,
Wow.
depending on the night.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez, that's a lot of
Yes.
commitment. Wow. So,
Hmm.
but so it was very challenging. But let's actually go straight to the kind of the happy ending, and then we'll talk about your job. Um, when did you get a job at the position that you're in right now?
It was I received my offer the last week of the full stack part. Yes, the
So you
knowledge.
got the job, you signed the offer right before graduating from the boot camp. It's extremely rare, right?
Yes,
It's
I
like
know.
I wouldn't say it's never heard of because some people have done it. And when we do the graduation parties, we ask the question, and sometimes there's someone raising their hand, say, "Yeah, I did it." It's rare, but it wasn't by chance because I think. Can you actually tell us how do you think? What did you do in particular that really helped you find that position while you were still learning to code?
So I will say that networking was a big
Yeah.
thing. When I got frustrated about the rejections, I said, you know what, I'm not going to look for more for now.
Mhm.
I'm going to build projects. I'm going to engage in network and then see what happens. So I joined two hackathons with some. The first one was with Will, also from NuCamp, and the
Yeah.
next one, uh, Amanda joined us, and so that helped a lot. That gave us the experience of a group project,
Mhm.
a really fast project, finish the project, turn in, and to show something, on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So really
Um,
worked on your project. So the hackathons were during while you were
During
learning
the
the boot
bootcamp,
camp.
yes.
You also joined the hackathons, which often happen over the weekend, right? So it's working.
Mm,
No.
no, these were the Mint Bean hackathons that
Mhm.
are like a week.
Yeah.
So they usually start on a Tuesday and then
Okay.
finish the next Tuesday. Yes,
Okay.
something
So it's
like
a
that.
full week. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Gotcha. So, and what I understand as well from the conversation we had before is you did the hackathons, you worked on your project, but the skills that you deployed to find freelance clients, meaning being engaged in social networks, responding to comments, engaging with people, that's also how you got noticed, right? Wasn't it?
Yes,
Can you tell us
yes.
about that? Like, how did you find that job, or did the job find you?
They found me.
Which
Yes,
is which
they
is
found
huge
me.
as well. So can you
Yes,
tell
but
us a little bit about that? What was, I mean, was it a message on LinkedIn that you got? Like, what did the message say? Like,
mhm.
how is that
Yes.
happening?
So one thing that I did
Yeah,
was I never posted I need a job.
yeah.
I never did that on LinkedIn.
Hmm. Ah,
I
that's a
never
great point.
said
Yeah,
I need a job. I want to change career. No, I didn't say a word. So I was
interesting.
just posting about my projects and about my group and the boot camp every week, the badge. So
Mm.
I wasn't applying. Actually, if I saw this job in there, I wouldn't apply to this job. I wasn't applying to jobs.
Yeah.
And so I received the message, hey, I'm from this company. I would like to talk to you about the opportunity. And I was like, okay, let's see. Next week we talked. Uh, we had a phone call. Look, everything that could have gone wrong, it went wrong.
Oh, really?
Yes,
So,
because
okay,
on
do you
our
mind sharing a little bit more? Like, what went wrong?
um, so on our first call, I was taking my little one to do a COVID test.
Okay.
And so I was talking to the HR person and I was like, okay, talking, and she was telling me about the opportunity, and I was, okay, okay, great. Then the nurse came to get the little one, and I was like, okay, wait a second, and she didn't hear me or something like that. She was talking and talking and talking. She said the whole job description, and I was with my kid and the
Yeah.
nurse and all of that. Then I came back to the phone, and she said, "So, what do you think?"
Oh no.
And I was like, "Oh, please, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part." And I told her, I'm taking my kid to do a COVID test, and she related
Yeah.
because all her family was going through COVID. So uh, we talked a little bit more, and it was a point of connection
Yeah.
that uh, I don't know.
I mean,
It was
it's um it's not always just about your coding skills. It's also
yes.
about, and it's, I don't know how big, I mean, we'll talk about the company that you're in, but very often if you're in a small company, being able to fit the culture, being able to get along with others, who you are as a person accounts for, I don't know what percentage, but it counts a ton. So yeah, you were able to create that rapport, even though it went bad at first. You were able to kind of connect through that with the person. So again, this is kind of incredible. You were not looking for a job at the moment. Someone reached out to you directly, and you made it. You actually got an offer. So do you mind? And let's actually bring up Michael's question here, because that's where I want to go next. What are you currently working on? What is your day like? Uh, Tell us about the company as well. What is the company doing? What do you do there? Tell us about your position. Yeah, what you're doing over there.
Sure. The company is GMT, is Green Mountain Technology,
Hmm.
located in Memphis. It's local, but I work remotely.
Okay.
Um, my day is we have stand-ups almost every day. Stand-ups is a meeting for a few minutes, 30 minutes, everybody, says a little bit of what you did last day and what are you planning to work this day, and if you are facing any problems or any accomplishment that you did. So we have that short meeting is with my team. It's really fun. It's a good time to interact to each other. And other than that, I have pretty much the whole day to work on the ticket I'm working on. I actually have a lot of time that I can pair with someone that is working in the same project that I'm working on.
Gotcha.
So
And so the
yes,
way it works is you assign tickets, right? So there's a features or bugs that are in the system that are called tickets.
so yes, what the project I'm working on right now is a rewrite. So we are
I see.
moving the whole platform to React, from Angular to React.
Or are you migrating from Angular to React? Wow, that
Yes,
must be fun. Or not.
yes. So we are rewriting the whole system.
Wow.
Yes.
So why is that actually? I'm curious. Why would someone want to
Well,
move from Angular to React?
the thing is that this platform was built about 20 years ago with Angular 1. I don't know how many years ago,
Yeah,
but
probably not 20,
using
but I see
Angular
what you're
1.
saying. Yeah, when was Angular 1 or 2 shipped? Yeah, I got you now. Yeah, so
Yes.
might as well, if we're gonna have to rewrite anyways because Angular 1 versus
Mm-hmm.
Angular 13, I think now it's like not the same
Exactly.
language anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
might as well just, yeah, I got you. So Angular 1 ship date. Let me actually check that out real quick. Oh, wow. Not 20 years, but yeah, 2010. Angular 1, 2010, 12 years ago. So, okay. So that's why you're moving to React.
Yes.
And so how many people
Um,
are in the team doing that?
well, my team is 5 developers.
Okay.
I'm the only woman in the team. Well, my manager is also a woman. Um, let's see. Only two right now are working on this project.
Gotcha.
Only two of us.
Yeah. All right.
Is
So let's actually move on to the next question that's connected to that one. What is your favorite thing about being a developer?
my favorite thing is the satisfaction of achieving things.
Yeah. Every
Yes,
time you
solving
build a
problems.
component and it works, it's kind of a
Yes.
rush of positive energy, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's so important to feel those moments because that's always what's going to get you going. I mean, maybe we should talk about, when it doesn't go well, when there's a bug and you
Yes.
spend hours and hours. But yeah, I mean, how do you handle, actually, let's talk about it. How do you handle that? I'm sure that in that migration process, you've had headaches trying to figure out how to migrate a piece of code. How do you handle that?
Well, it's not that hard
Yeah.
as you imagine, because uh, I have I don't know if it's just me or is everybody, but I see the current website, the current software, and just going through it, I know what to do in React.
Oh, wow.
So
Yeah.
I see that, sometimes we have to, check really into it, but most of the times it's just, okay, I need to do this, just by seeing it and doing it in React.
Oh, I see. So the way you're really migrating the website is not necessarily looking at the code
Hmm.
and
Of course,
migrating
we
the
have the
algorithms.
code, we
Yeah.
can go through the code, but is for me is better to look at it and
Yeah. And then you replicate, and if you're missing something, you're going to check the code.
yes.
But then
Hmm.
it's Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. So yeah, so it's really about making those progress and having that positive rush of emotion all the time that gets you going. That's what you prefer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, there's another question. There's a lot of questions today. That's pretty cool. So I don't know if it's an L or I, Lonella or Yonella. I'll bet it's a Lonella. Could you
Looks
please
like.
tell us a few tricks for the resume LinkedIn profile? And then how did you sell the skills that you learned at New Camp? So in that conversation for your job, how did you present yourself? How did you talk about you being a student at New Camp?
I didn't talk a lot about the bootcamp. Of course, they knew I was, finishing my bootcamp, but I mentioned it, but that's it. What I did was talking about my experience
Yeah.
outside of the bootcamp,
Mhm.
projects, group projects, the projects that I did as a freelance, in volunteering.
Yeah.
That is a huge thing. Being able to
Yeah.
talk about what you did.
Yeah. It's not just what you learned. I mean,
Hmm.
so you want actually them to assume that you know your stuff, right? So that they don't question that, okay, you're in the bootcamp, you know the skills. Now tell us about your actual experience out there. And you had a lot to say. You could go back to your WordPress days, you could go back to your freelancing days, you could go back to your hackathon group project, and that's really what you want to talk about. And that's super
Hmm.
important for those of you that are kind of thinking about joining and attending a bootcamp. What you're doing outside of it is critical, right? The project that you're going to work on and being able to tell a story about yourself, right? Not just, hey, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this. It's really, how do you apply it? Talking to you right now, you probably had a lot of passion talking about your freelance customers or your hackathon. That makes a big difference,
Yes,
right?
huge difference.
All right. Um, that's an interesting question here. Panama 92 Jack, how aggressive do tech companies hire factoring in diversity? It's an interesting, I'm not sure I understand it fully though, but how aggressive. So I guess all companies hire tech employees. That's one thing. It's not just tech companies. And I will say, there's someone else actually, I think it's the same. Yeah. Being hired in Fang. I'll say try to avoid pigeonholing yourself into one type of company. Like if your goal is to be hired by Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, okay, that may happen, but think about it down the line. Think about it 5 years from now. If you're too much focused on being hired by those companies and you're just graduating from a coding bootcamp, chances are you're going to actually close the doors to a lot more opportunities that may actually have a higher chance of hiring you. So to answer that question, I think connected to Fang, I'll say Fang companies, they're probably going to prioritize hiring people that have some experience. Diversity or no diversity, I would say. But I mean, if you have already a job, if you've been in the job for 2 years, your chances of getting into a Fang company is, going through the roof, or much higher, I would say. In terms of diversity, there's a ton of diversity initiatives across the board. All major tech companies have diversity goals, and for reasons that, I mean, a lot of people are unrepresented in those companies. Let me say a few words about why actually there are diversity targets. The core and the fundamental reason for that is tech companies that are building software products need to make sure that the engineers that are building those products have empathy for their users. And if their users are, let's say, 40%, Hispanic, 40% African American, 50% women, if their demographics do not match that, chances are they're going to build the wrong products because there's a lack of empathy as to what you go in through life. And so that's mainly the reason for diversity, which is very valuable and very valid and opens the door to a lot of people. So I hope that was helpful. Hey Don, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Oh, there's a question here. I think it's an interesting question. I believe that question is answered as well in the write-up that we did of you. I don't want to put you on the spot. You can say no, and we could actually redirect the question to the blog article that we just published earlier this week. But since it's out there, do you want to share your starting salary or not? And no is a totally acceptable answer.
So my target was 70K.
Yeah.
I almost got into it.
Okay, and that was your target. That's a great part of your story as well. When did you set that target for yourself? At what point in that journey?
Right after.
And you're breaking up. I don't know if it's.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. How your connection just.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
It's a little bit better. Yeah. You're back.
Okay, so I set my goal right after the weekend of volunteering with Give Camp Memphis. So that's
Gotcha.
why I say, that weekend was like.
Oh, that was the moment when you knew exactly that was going to be your career, and that was going to be your starting salary. And so that was before you enrolled.
Since then, this is the
you have it written
that
down.
I showed. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Let me actually hold on. Let me do something here. There you go. I am a full stack developer making $70 a year, working remotely with an awesome team. So you wrote it down. That's a paper right before you joined UCAM.
You have copy and whatever.
That's brilliant. I love it. All right. Well, that's a great answer to that question. Thank you. So yeah, and this is your first job in tech, right? So let me check your LinkedIn profile. You started in October 2021.
Yes.
So that's your first job.
Today is my 6 month.
Yeah, 6 months anniversary. Congrats.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right, let's see. No. Oh, there we go. That's a great question as well from Clara. Did you get some training onboarding when you first started in your current job, or did you have to jump and code right away?
So that's a good question. When I had my interview with the owners and all of that, I asked the question, what do you expect from me in the first 30, 60, and 90 days?
Mm-hmm.
So they showed me a chart with, okay, in 2 weeks, we want you to do your first commit.
Okay.
It was in a week or something like that. I think a week or 2 weeks. And okay, good. So I started the onboarding. It was a lot of video trainings, of course. We are remote. All get the passwords and get situated with this tool that we use. I had some meetings with members of my team that they were showing me, around. And I will say that the second week I jumped into code. I was still doing some training, but it was mostly like company or business side.
I see. Yeah.
Training.
It was kind of we were giving you a playground, like you're not gonna break too many things over there, so go for it.
Yes. And so my first coding experience at work was pairing with one of my teammates.
Okay. Not a buddy.
Yes. So he helped me a lot from the beginning. And yes, that's, I
So
would say, in two
you were really
weeks.
taken care of. I mean, you had a buddy. They gave you easier assignments, I guess, at first. You had 2 weeks to get into it.
Yes,
Great.
but of course, not, not everything is beautiful.
Yeah.
I I had like rough the first 3 months were really rough with imposter
Yeah.
syndrome. Uh, yes, that was uh, really hard, believing that I could really do that,
Yeah. Well,
coming
that's a
from
great. I
the
mean, let's talk
classroom.
about this. Hamed has a question as well. Did you still feel imposter at the moment? How do you overcome it? Before you answer that question, tell us about those first 3 months, because everything really went fast for you. I mean,
Yes.
it was it was great, but it was fast.
Hmm.
And so you have the job. You just graduated from the coding boot camp. And so you're saying now that the first 3 months were really rough. Can you go into more details? In how rough was it? What was rough about it?
Um, well, it was rough because, I didn't get the time to grasp a lot of the foundation
Hmm.
stuff. So yes, I could do React, I could do a full stack application, but once you get into the real software thing and not having that much of foundation,
Hmm.
you can feel like, okay, what am I doing here? Do I really fit here? It just starts with those, thoughts that um, can either take you down or help you
Yeah.
move forward. Um, I will say that something that helped me, pass that feeling was one of my team members started reach out to me, one of the seniors, can you help me with this?
Hmm.
And it was something CSS related. And I was, oh, yeah, sure, I can do it. 5 minutes. I put it out there. And he was like, what? How do you know this? And I was like, well, because I had a lot of failing tries with JavaScript and I went back to CSS a lot. So that's why. But and so that kind of helped me like, okay, I can give something.
Yeah.
I'm useful in the team,
Hmm.
and that helped me, pass that. And yes, I will say that pretty much,
So that
that
was
feeling of giving something.
yeah. So you went back to that. You went back to being helpful to um, that. Yeah, that's great. So that lasted 3 months, you said, and you talked about not feeling having the foundations. Um, there's something about learning to code, which is you're going to be exposed to a ton of stuff, but it's going to
Hmm.
be up in the air. Like you think you know it, but you don't really. If you look at it
Until
again, you're going to
you
be
get into that.
yes, exactly. And then I'd say that learning needs to settle. Time helps you really internalize what you just learned. Repetition helps also realize that you know it. Um, how different is it for you now? I mean, the first 3 months were rough. What makes now, like today, 6 months later, why is it different? What changed in how you feel about it?
Well, I will say that the repetition helped a
Repetition?
lot
Yeah.
in my teammate. Um, he whenever he we paired, right?
Hmm.
He was telling me, okay, let's do this, let's do that. I was coding and I was typing, and he was telling me. And after he told me a lot of code, he went back to it. Okay, what we did was this, this, this,
Yeah.
this, this. and he helped me. He didn't make me feel like, oh, you don't know anything. What are you doing here? But he helped me uh, understand a little bit more what we were doing here, because I feel like the most overwhelming thing is that, okay, we did you do an app, a website,
Mhm.
something like that. Very simple. But when you get to a massive app
Yeah,
that
like a big,
has,
big migration of Angular to React. It's another ball game. Yeah.
yes, so
Yeah.
it's
And but now
but
you're
that
ready for it. I mean, you just that was great to hear you say like you just look at the website and you kind of know how it's going to work in React and you just go for it. That's brilliant.
mhm.
The time went so fast. I cannot believe it's already 4 p.m. Pacific time. Let's take one more question if you don't mind. And I think
Sure.
actually you attended the full stack bootcamp. Oh, before we get into that, I have a surprise to all of you. Um, I want to play a short video. We're very proud of having that new video representing New Camp. I want to play it for everyone. We're going to send an email next week, I think, about it. And I want to say a few words about that video. But so stay until, stay 5 more minutes if you can. So the backend program, I think it's about the Python program, which you did not attend the Python program, did you?
No.
That's right. You attended the full stack with React and MongoDB and all that. So we do teach algorithms, and the question is that going to be enough to pass a coding interview? Yes and no. That's the answer. So we teach you, I think, 3 types of algorithms. We teach you how to think about algorithms. Passing a coding interview is a different thing. First, you could have algorithm test or not, and you could be tested on the algorithm that we taught you or not. It's really much about being able to understand algorithm. Sometimes you have to prepare for that type of algorithm. But I would say you'll have to kind of think about how you want to, just like you, I would say, passing an interview is not just about the coding element of it. It's who you are as a whole, your technical skills, how you collaborate, how you show up, how you can talk about your experience, your projects, your nonprofit engagement, and things like that. And yes, sometimes you're going to have to pass a coding algorithm test, but it may not be just it may not be the deciding factor necessarily. So that's what I'll say. And we have a nice other comment here. Thank you for the Friday videos. All right. So let me show you that video now because let me tell you a story about it. Oh, it's not ready yet. No, stop. How do I do it? There we go. There we go. It's here. Hold on a sec. How do I play it? There we go.
He's just your look.
Go. Oops. It's not what I want to do. Sorry. How do I make the video the primary? Drag to move. Oh, can I do that? Yes, there we go. All right, so let me tell you a story about this video. We wanted to capture the how learning to code could not be too taxing on you as an aspiring developer, and realizing that oftentimes wanting to get a career in tech brings a lot of anxiety in terms of are you going to find the right coding bootcamp? Are you going to be able to pay the bills? Are you going to have to quit your job? Are you going to be able to trust the reviews? I mean, there's a ton of open questions. And if you go to Reddit, if you look at all the people, there's a ton of people wondering, which one is the right one? Tell me which one is the right one, and not really knowing where to go. And what we want to tell you is, of course, kind of advertising New Camp, but it doesn't have to be about stress. It doesn't have to be about you having to sacrifice your job. It doesn't have to be about you fearing for your financial sanity because you are taking ISA. It could be just joyful and fun. And so that's what we're trying to capture with this video. It's a short video, kind of trying to be inspiring, joyful, and I'm going to play it, and then we can close the show for today. So let's play it. And that's supposed to be
He's just your local stockbroker, right?
It's not working.
Wrong. He's on his way to becoming the next web developer at a promising tech startup. His pay? Double. His school? New Camp, a top-rated coding boot camp in the U.S. Or take the quiet, unassuming cashier who realized she could be punching in code rather than the price of your order. She's attending New Camp and going places, as in Fortune 500 places. And just your local software engineer who's the top developer at their firm? I don't think so. She graduated from New Camp and is now the top developer who...
Already said that.
Oh, right. My mistake.
I'm gonna get back to coding now.
Or that friendly driver. He's not dropping off strangers at their destinations. He's picking up coding boot camps to go where he really wants to go. Next stop, full stack developer. Start your journey in tech by joining a top-rated and most affordable coding boot camp. Learn software engineering on your schedule and get everything you need to thrive.
All right, that was it. That's all. 1 minute video. We've made it. All right. Hey,
Yeah.
Carla, I want to say thank you again for your very inspiring story. Oh, we just flipped seats. Let me do it. There we go. Thank you again for sharing your journey with us. Really inspiring, very unique, and I shouldn't say in a way you've been lucky because you've actually worked pretty hard at it. But in some ways, looking at other people who may be, challenged, who may be struggling to find a first job, you've actually been quite blessed. I would say, not lucky.
Yeah.
So again, it's been a pleasure. You're still very active on Slack. Really appreciate that. Seeing you out there, it's great. And as I said to some of our past students, don't hesitate to come back as an instructor. If you're considering it, and if you
Yes.
thought about it, it'll be a real pleasure to have you back, so that you can share more of your experience with current students. That'll be awesome.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Thank you everyone for
the
joining.
invite.
Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
See ya.